You guys hear me? All right. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you here today. Thanks for being at Accelerate. Hanging in there for day 2, and especially in the afternoon. My name's Steve Kretschmann. I'm part of the Value Consulting Group at Aptus. And what my team does is work with our customers to identify the KPIs and the success metrics that go into driving successful projects, driving successful Aptus projects. And really the best way to show you how we drive success is to let our customers speak to it. So we've got some really honored guests here today. I'm going to introduce them and then speak for about 1 minute, because that's all you're going to want to hear from me. And then we'll let them tell their real life stories, and hopefully you gain some insight from that. First up is going to be Rita Hartman from Superion. She's a senior pricing analyst there, and she's been a long-time Aptus customer, as everyone here on stage has. Also Doug Denson, he's a director of the commercial tools and technologies team at Covance. And finally we have Randy Ichishita from Adobe. She runs the Americas deal desk there. And also want to point out that Adobe is a sponsor of Accelerate, so thank you for that. And I'm going to let them jump into their stories here. We'll take turns and go through this. But two things I want to leave you with here is when you're doing an Aptus project, when you're looking at the opportunities for improvement, they really are very impressive. And the slide that we just went through shows some of those success metrics that our customers are in fact achieving in real life. We send out a survey every year. We ask customers what they are achieving in terms of time compression, in terms of speed to market. Really is impressive. And what these folks on stage have done is really internalize that, made that part of the project, and they've really raised the bar on defining project success. It isn't just about going live on Aptus and calling that success. It's going back to the original project charter and taking a look at what your success criteria were in the beginning, taking a look at what you set out to achieve in the first place in terms of business benefits, and then tracking those things over time and validating those. Right? So these folks are raising the bar, and what we want to do is leave you with the impression that all projects should be run that way. Thank you. All projects should be run that way. Here's several examples from a wide variety of customer types, market spaces and company sizes, but that's really the common thread between their different stories. So I'm going to hand it over to Rita. She's going to tell you about what she's been doing at Superion, and then we'll start there and then listen to a couple of other stories as well. Okay? Thanks, Rita.
Thank you. Did everyone having a good time? I can't see you. You're all dark. All right. I just wanted to give you a little bit of introduction about our company. I work for a company named Superion, and we've been providing end-to-end software solutions to our customers for about 37 years. We haven't always been Superion. We've changed hands a couple of times, and the most recent purchase was done last February by Vista Equity Partners, and they rebranded us, and they changed our name to Superion. And what we do is we provide end-to-end enterprise solutions to local governments. So you see there that we have 2 major lines of business: public safety. So if you got a speeding ticket on your way here today, they might have used our software to run your license plate, your driver's license, and give you that ticket. So you can thank us for that. The other thing that we talk about is our public administration, which is the back office of the local governments, where they're issuing permits, doing their financials, paying their employees, opening up purchase orders, buying from you guys. So those are the 2 main areas that we have been doing for many, many years. And we just acquired a company called CryWolf that does alarm billing, and that fits right in with our public safety customers and what they're trying to do to get the police officers back on the streets and not at the false alarms where nothing's happening. So we started our journey, obviously 37 years ago, and we've been using Salesforce for a long, long time. But we started out quoting in a worksheet with a paper price book. How many of you have done that? Not enough of you, I guess. So anyway, We were looking for a solution that would allow us to automate that process, put some rules in place, and allow us to be more efficient. So we started the journey back in 2012. We implemented first for our public administration sales reps, and then later we added in our public safety reps. They were actually using a tool called QuoteWorks, and it had a lot of issues because we couldn't integrate that well to Salesforce. And it was really like living in the wild, wild west. If the sales rep wanted to create a product, they just typed it into their computer and created a product. Whether or not we could sell it or not, whether or not we could support it or not, it didn't matter, they could put it on a quote. So as you can imagine, that wasn't a great situation to be in. There was no conformity. Sometimes they would remember to synchronize the back-end integration from QuoteWorks to the opportunity, and it would list the products, and sometimes they didn't. So we couldn't even run a report that says how many of our customers in the state of California bought any of our software. So it made reporting difficult. The other issue that we had with that is that they would download the catalog, and if they never re-downloaded another catalog to their local desktop, they were selling their products at the last time they downloaded the catalog, which could have been a year ago, 2 years ago. They weren't really great at re-downloading that catalog. So it just made a lot of sense for us to do what we did. So that's where we started, and we have continued to transform that. So we started in 2012 with our public admin business, and we got all of those reps on board, and we learned some lessons. So in 2014, 15 timeframe, we actually had Aptus come out and do a business process review, and we re-implemented the tool to get less customizations, more speed from the system, and to be as much out of the box as we could. And we were pretty happy there. And then Vista bought us, and Vista has a proprietary process that they take all of their acquired businesses through, and they came in last April and said, you're going to re-implement your Salesforce instance, your Aptus instance, and we're going to integrate 15 systems all at the same time. And oh, by the way, you have to be live in like 5 months. So that created some challenges, and we all kind of looked like this for quite a long time, actually. But we've got through that, and much thanks to several of our consultants. One of them is in the audience here. We partnered with Optima, and they got us through that 5 months, and without them, we would have not made it through that journey and met our deadline, but we did. So today, all of our users are required to use the system, and I hear people talk about adoption and how you get your users to adopt, and I have a really simple solution for that. Don't pay them if they don't adopt. That's what we do. If you don't put your stuff in the system, you don't get your commission. So we have 100% adoption of our tool today. All the quotes are created in Aptus. The opportunity is synced automatically to the quote when we finalize. All the proposal products move from the quote to the opportunity to NetSuite, which is the new accounting software that we implemented during this process, and then our services go into OpenAir. So nothing goes to accounting unless they follow the process, and if it can't go to accounting, they can't get paid on it. So again, 100% adoption. So if they want paid, they have to do it. And I'm not gonna lie, we have some frustrated users, but those users are frustrated because they refuse to come to the training, won't learn the tool, don't understand the products. It's not the tool's fault that they are frustrated. So you will have frustrated users as you make a transition. So we're really, really happy with where we are. We've been live on the new instance for the 3rd time since October 17th, I believe is the date. And we are now looking forward to what we want to do. As part of this process, we gained quite a few things, and I won't read these to you, but now we can run reports. Quotes are visible to for every sale. We can improve our forecasting because everything is now in the same system. And if they don't key it in, they don't see it on their dashboards, they don't get credit for it. So we really make them do what they need to do to help our office work the way we need it to work. So now we're going to look forward a little bit, and this year we hope to implement the intelligent workflows or the Aptus approvals. Today we're using Salesforce approvals. We want to increase the number of apps that we've written with XAuthor. We're a big fan of XAuthor, and we actually use XAuthor for Excel for our quote document generation, which is kind of unique. We want to load the most recent release, and we want to get to that new user interface where it allows the user to have more control over their cart. And then we want to do some streamlined product cleanup. We're getting ready to do several acquisitions, and we're going to have to be able to upscale those fast. We just did our first acquisition in the last 3 months, and we got through that pretty quickly, so we were pretty happy with how we were able to scale that up. So I'm going to turn it over to Doug.
Thank you. So I'm Doug Denson. I work for Covance, which is a division of LabCorp based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And what I wanted to focus in on a little bit, something that we've done recently within the last year, is implement the CLM module, Contract Lifecycle Management. So if you rewind a little bit, about a year ago, our whole contracts team, did an amazing job. They came into work every day, they worked on the contracts, and they went home. It really wasn't a high sort of priority group within our company. But then something changed. We changed the way that we can recognize revenue, and we did that from verbal award to contract signed. And so we took a group that wasn't quite, wasn't really high profile, and we made them really popular. Even so popular that commissions were based upon signed contracts. So if you think about that, I don't know if there's any salespeople in the audience here, but that's an emotional event, right? Can I buy the boat? Can't I buy the boat? All down to whether a contract is signed or not. So we needed greater visibility. And that group was under a lot of pressure to answer questions that, quite frankly, we couldn't answer. So what we did is we partnered with Aptus. We worked with Mainspring, who's here as an implementation provider. And we implemented contract lifecycle management. Prior to that, we literally had things in SharePoint, we had things on network drives, and even when we had a directive to try to redo some of what our contract lifecycle was, we weren't even really sure where to begin because we really hadn't measured it before. So by moving to a centralized tool like Aptus, like contract lifecycle management, we started to build that whole framework on not only having a centralized tool that everything was put, but to actually identify the different steps in the path on how can we start to reduce some of this throughput time. So that was huge. We went live with contract lifecycle management in January timeframe-ish, and already today, we're already able to measure some of the reductions. We were just having dinner last night. One of the groups within our space, now that we can measure, actually took their contract lifecycle timeline and reduced it by 50%, which I think is huge. And here's some of the measurements that I think Aptus puts up on here. But 50% reduction, and we really started to dig into, well, how did we do that? Truthfully, it was just from accountability. The fact that we had a person associated with a particular artifact, and they owned it, seeing it all the way through, was something we didn't have before. So just of having the visibility and the accountability reduced one particular group's throughput by 50%. I mean, I think that that's huge. The other thing that it put us into is that now, because we can measure the process and we can measure that through a tool, we can start to hone in on what are the areas that are taking the longest for us to get a contract from initiation all the way through to signed. Some of that's internal, some of that's external, but at least now we have the visibility where we can start to go in and really focus on those things, and that's something that we haven't had before. Talking to the leader of the contracts group about this recently, and this was something, I have those aha moments. But we'd spent about the last year talking about how do we just get the information together, what is it, how do we get it centralized, how to do that. It was about a month ago we were having a discussion, and she actually said to me, we just had a meeting where it's the first time we're actually just talking about contracts. We're talking about the data and how do we improve it. And we've never had that before. So I think that was a testament not only to the tool, but the process and what we've implemented with Aptus. So hugely successful, and for us it's been a process reduction. So thank you.
Thanks. Oh, Hi, I'm Brandy. I am an Aptus user. I've been with Adobe for over 12 years. I run Deal Desk for Americas. And I heard earlier in a session the Deal Desk being referenced, but in case there are those who may not be familiar, my team really is the middle office. We sit in between what we say the front end or sales, as well as connect end with the back office. You can imagine a wheel. Many people ask me what do I do at Adobe, and my team is really the hub, and at the end of the spokes are our internal and external stakeholders. These groups include not only sales and our end user customers, but groups such as credit, revenue assurance, order management, pricing, the business units, and my team really triages and tries to scope what we consider profitable, compliant, enterprise transactions while trying to maximize revenue, but keeping in mind to enhance and increase the effectiveness and productivity of sales. Some tidbits about Adobe, in case you're not familiar with our company. We are an experience company. We feel that we touch 100% of digital experiences. Digital experiences range if you were to view the big football game on your phone as it streams. They could be an interactive online ad campaign. It could also be a mobile app that helps you keep track of both your professional and personal life. These are all what we call digital experiences, and we truly feel that Adobe can help both users and companies change the way that you think, that you entertain, that you work, and basically just relate to the world around you. Some other tidbits about Adobe. So we're one of the largest and most diversified software companies in the world. We have over 18,000 employees spanning 37 different offices worldwide. And last year we reported $7.3 billion in revenue. And I think most of you, when you do think about Adobe, you are more familiar with our consumer products, such as Photoshop or Acrobat. We actually do have an enterprise go-to-market. The enterprise go-to-market is inclusive of selling to a market segment that we coin as enterprise. This includes selling digital marketing solutions as well as the Photoshops and Acrobats to larger companies. And what my team does is that we support all the non-standard pricing, unique custom contracts, and this is really the area of the go-to-market that we focused our quote-to-cash efforts around. Prior to our quote-to-cash transformation, similar to what Rita was mentioning, we had very disparate systems. You had your sales opportunities managed in one system, you had pricing approvals in another, you had a different contract lifecycle management database, and none of these systems spoke to one another, so you could have various different groups, including mine, entering data multiple times, the same data in different systems. And so when we thought about launching to quote to cash, there are three objectives that we were trying to keep a focus on, one of which is scale. So now with the help of Aptus, we're able to streamline one standard workflow from beginning to end. So from the time when sales collects their lead generation through the time when they engage with my team to work on any custom pricing and or contracting, all the way through order booking, we're now able to reduce duplicate information inputs by maximizing one-time data input, and it then will streamline into multiple systems if they need be. Another thing to think about, we previously had, my team would actually have multiple versions of contracts, and I think this is referenced in previous sessions, from a compliance standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, things were just sort of all over the place. The second key point that we're looking at in terms of focusing with quote to cash was visibility. Now having the standard system, you have multiple user groups can now see what the activities related to a single opportunity from beginning to end. This could include pricing approvals from a contracting negotiations to seeing the notes from sales. Like, we have business owners now that have real-time self-service that they can go in at any time to understand what is happening to a deal, where in the past they would have to rely on somebody either returning a phone call or sending an email. The other benefit from this visibility is that we're now able to pull proactive reports. So my team can now load balance quite a bit more because I have a better understanding on what my team is working on, what are some areas that we need to improve, as well as what are some areas of success. Lastly was experience. And when I originally created the deck, I had the sales user experience in mind. I also had our customer user experience in mind. But even my own general team, Aptus has given us the ability to not only scale, but also have just better transparency and delightfulness in the work that we do. Like, we're not so much involved with the administrative side. With the ability to have dynamic contract clauses, it's removed some of the mundane tasks of what my team works on, so they're able to spend their efforts and time on something that's, it's more profitable and beneficial. Some of the experiences from a sales perspective is that with the integration of Adobe Sign as part of the workflow, they now can see if a contract is sent out for a customer for signature, whether or not the agreements have been opened and viewed by the customer. So when they have to follow up, they're able to have a much more meaningful and impactful conversation. As well as our customers are more delighted because they now can sign agreements wherever and whenever. They're not necessarily locked down into a physical location having to complete the transaction with Adobe. So some interesting stats. When we did leverage Adobe Sign, and from a sending perspective as well as a customer signing, the life cycle of the return number of days were dramatically reduced when Sign was leveraged. The chart here shows various flavors of what we would consider enterprise, and in all of these different flavors, we were able to significantly reduce the number of days of when we were able to execute and file the agreement in-house. And with that, I turn it back to Steve.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandy.
Thanks.
Thanks to all our speakers. I'll just bookend it with some closing comments. I think we heard some really good success stories here. Hopefully this generates some ideas for the audience and some of the other folks that Aptus is working with. Just a question for you guys. Some of the successes we heard about, right? The 100% compliance, the roughly 75% cycle time reduction with the use of e-sign. Assumedly, you're communicating those successes up through leadership to make sure that they understand the value and the benefit of Aptus and the projects that you've been running, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it's and I bring that up because it's in Aptus's best interest, obviously, from a selfish perspective, to make sure that you are communicating that. We want you and your leadership to be happy with Aptus. We're a subscription business, so it's important that everybody's happy all along. And if we can help you communicate this, if we can help define those metrics, track them over time, and give you a mechanism to communicate that up the chain of command, it's in Aptus' best interest to do so. So we're always available and here to help all of our customers do that. And of course, all of us will be around after this session to take questions or talk more about some of the successes that you guys have had. So thanks for your time, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did.